Good day. We welcome you again with the Geopolitical Institute Flanders, Netherlands. We have another interview, this time also in English, because today we're interviewing Professor Alexander Markovics. He is a friend of us in Austria, and today he will explain the situation about the tensions between Greece and Turkey quite recently on their sea borders. We give the word to Alexander.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much for the invitation to talk about the current tensions between Greece and Turkey. Especially, I think from a European perspective, this is a very crucial and important topic since it concerns the very south of Europe and also one of the very historic cores of European identity, Greece, which actually also gave birth to European culture in a certain sense via the idea of Hellenism. And it's very interesting that today we are witnessing some kind of continuation in this arch enemyship between Greece and Turkey. In a certain extent, you could also say Greece and Europe, which somehow never ended, or you could say which is returning with President Erdogan in Turkey. And there's the question why this actually these islands in the Mediterranean Sea, which are now concerned in these tensions between Greece and Turkey, and why is Turkey even as you could say as cheeky and daring to actually even threaten Greece with war. So I think it's very important in order to understand this conflict and these ambitions of Turkey under Erdogan. You have to understand the idea of the so-called blue homeland. So most of us know these ambitions by Turkey to actually revise its borders and to put into question the current gestalt, the current form of the country, as they did, for example, in the Syrian war, where they put put into the headlines maps of Turkey in 1921, and that they want to reclaim some areas in the north. And we also know about Turkish ambitions, for example, in the ideology of pan-Turkic ideology when it comes to Azerbaijan and other Turkic peoples in the Caucasus and Central Asia. But what most people don't consider is this idea of the blue homelands, that Turkey has not only land borders, but that it has also sea borders. And why are these sea borders important? The sea borders are important on the one hand for its resources they are containing. As you know, there were found huge gas reserves, for example, on the coast of Cyprus, but also in the border area between Greece and Turkey in the Aegean Sea, there were also some new resources found. And the idea to claim now this Mavi Vatan, this blue homeland by Erdogan, it devolves actually from the dire need of Turkey to become sovereign when it comes to the energy supplies. And therefore, it's not only this idea of a certain Turkish power bloc or a regional hegemony of Turkey in this area, but it's also the idea that you have a fast or let's say a much bigger population than in 1920, when Turkey had around 20 million inhabitants after the defeat in World War One, and now it has more than 80 million inhabitants, around the size of Germany, and therefore it needs more energy, more resources. And if you also look, for example, at the strategy in Syria, it is also there not only about the PKK, but also about energy and resources. So this drive to the Mediterranean, which was already started in the 1970s, when they, for example, occupied northern Cyprus. It also went in this direction. And nowadays, Turkey is in a very interesting situation, let's put it that way, because they are no longer the most loyal member of NATO in regarding to the USA. But what Erdogan is actually what he's seeing there in the Middle East, and what he's seeing in the relations between the NATO, between the US and Europe, is that this alliance of NATO is no longer as strong as it was originally. So he sees there some kind of momentum to actually use these frictions between Europe and the United States in order to strengthen his influence in the region. And this also means territorial expansion in some regards. So the reason why Turkey, for example, supports the Muslim Brotherhood and the former unity government. So yesterday, its chief resigned in Libya, and there's now the prospect of free elections. So they supported, for example, this party in Libya, not only to strengthen the influence of the Muslim Brotherhood, but also in order to gain concessions from Libya. So Libya, for example, or let's say this one Libyan government is also supporting these Turkish ambitions. And therefore, it's actually today a more dire situation for Greece, because what Greece knows is that Europe is not in a strong position, or better, the European Union is not in a strong position when it comes to Turkey, because we have, for example, this so-called migration pact between the EU and Turkey, so that Turkey is playing the guard for European borders, but actually uses every opportunity to make a better deal, or to blackmail Europe in order to get better conditions. And therefore, since they know that it is possible, this is also the reason why they exert such an, you could say, extreme pressure on Greece. Not only because they are the second strongest NATO nation, but also because they saw already in the past that Europe is actually not really willing, or better, it is not able to formulate its own geopolitical interests and also to back them with a certain force, because nowadays Europe is, or better, the European Union is only relying on soft power, and to a very lesser degree on hard power, which is also necessary to prevail in modern conflicts. So therefore, the situation currently is insofar not good, not looking good for Greece, because they're on the one hand, in terms of military and economic terms, they're not on par with Turkey on the one hand. On the other hand, we know that NATO as such is no longer a functioning military structure. And in this case, I think it would not come to the help of Greece on the one hand. And also, I think that the European Union would not that much back Greece, since they are in a weak position concerning the relation to Turkey, refugees, and the Middle East in general.
Okay, one small question. We saw that French President Macron is calling for putting pressure on Erdogan and coming to aid for Greece. Do you think that's just for media purposes, or do you think that he will push further to this?
That's an interesting question, because we know that the main tandem in the European Union is, of course, the alliance between Macron and Angela Merkel on the other hand. And in this duo, France, as an still very strong military power, of course, has the hard power to use a different rhetoric and a different language in such conflicts. We could see that, for example, in 2011 when they intervened in the war in Libya and took this regime change to a new height. And also in Africa, France is using force. I think that this is a part of the strategy of the European Union to actually look for some kind of to get Turkey on the false foot, to somehow catch them when they see, okay, we cannot make these hard demands and these hard claims when we actually get some kind of retaliation by France. But I think when you look at the whole picture, the European Union actually lacks the power in order to really and successful counter the Turkish influence, because they have this problem with the migration pact on the one hand, and also they are in a certain extent dependent on Turkey also when it comes, for example, to Syria in order to support European claims, and also to the Middle East in general. So I don't think that they will be a hard broker on the diplomatic table when it comes to the situation in Greece. But of course, they are making these impressions and these statements by Macron, for example, because they know, okay, we also have to somehow counter Turkey, because otherwise we couldn't find a solution which is in any regard somehow satisfying for the European Union as such. So, and I think one has already to keep in mind that these demands and threats by Turkey are also mainly made in order to gain a better position in the diplomatic talks about the enlargement of the Turkish sovereignty in the Mediterranean Sea. And therefore, of course, it's also this problem of Cyprus, for example, which is still occupied by Turkey and now a divided state on the one hand. And on the other hand, attacking Greece directly, because also this disputed territory is also mainly around Cyprus, but also around Crete and the Aegean Islands. So of course they are attacking Greece in this regard, because it's somehow the main enemy and the main focal point in order to enlarge these sovereignty rights in the sea.
Okay, and one last question in a longer perspective. Is this an endgame for Turkey in the NATO? Will they be still member in the NATO of the NATO in a few years, do you think? Because the tensions are growing each few months.
Yes, so Turkey and NATO, it's I think a very difficult topic. Since Turkey is also the second strongest member of NATO. So when you have, for example, Turkey on the one hand and other NATO states, it's of course especially for the United States who try to keep up their security concept, not only in Europe but also in the Middle East, and especially if you concern the American saber rattling against Russia. Turkey plays an important role in all of that. So what I think Turkey is currently doing, they are trying to satisfy both sides in most conflicts where NATO and some other countries involved, especially since the experiences of the coup d'etat, of the attempted coup d'etat in 2016 against Erdogan. So I think this has changed the Turkish perspective much, but also the confrontation with Russia around the same time. So what Turkey is doing, they are trying to get the most profit from, on the one hand, their alliance to NATO with NATO, and on the other hand, also their influence and relations in the Caucasus with Russia, and especially in the Middle East. So I think, at least at the moment, neither the United States nor Europe, in their Western liberalist perception, are ready to yeah, toss Erdogan under the bus or something like this as a member of NATO, because he's too powerful and he's too important. Also in a lot of conflicts, like for example Libya, where the US now also joined sides with Erdogan. So I think they will. It will be maybe hard, and there will be a lot of more conflicts to come in the future, since Turkey is no longer a loyal Western partner of NATO, but tries to install its own hegemony and further strengthen its influence. So I think they would not leave NATO unless NATO becomes an existential threat for Turkey. So I think a lot depends on how the West and NATO are now playing their cards when it comes to conflicts with Turkey. And on the one hand, and on the other hand, also what plans they have in NATO for further cooperation with Turkey, because they are still the southern flank of NATO. And you saw, for example, this diplomatic conflicts when they adopted the Russian S-400 defense anti-air defense system. They also before that threatened Turkey that this would have grave consequences for its membership with NATO, but in the end, nothing serious happened. So I don't think that NATO and the West are now ready to sacrifice Turkey as a as an ally, or to start a real conflict with Turkey, because in the current security strategy of Europe and the West, it plays a very important role on the one hand, and on the other hand, the Europeans as such are today not really able to formulate their own geopolitical interests, which you can also see on the division of Europe, for example, in the conflict in Libya, where states like France and Italy are also power broking there. So I don't think that Turkey will leave NATO. I rather think that there will be more conflicts inside the Atlantic Alliance, which is good for Europe insofar as then European sovereignists can maybe grab this opportunity in order to start formulating own geopolitical aims. But yeah, as said before, in the moment, I think Europe, also the European Union and the United States, would have too much to lose and too less to gain if they sacrifice Erdogan, since the transatlantic pact is really depending on him. From a European sovereignist perspective, of course, this whole conflict and this whole behavior of Europe in this conflict is rather a shame, and it just shows how much we are dependent on foreign powers when it comes to our own international security and our geopolitical interests. And yeah, therefore, we have to push this agenda to formulate an own European geostrategy on the one hand, and also on the other hand, to strengthen European security concepts and stop in order to depend on the USA and other countries. So that we hope that these countries will defend our interests, which was never the case, and I think will also not be the case in the future.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Markovics, for your interview.
Thank you very much for the
hope to see
invitation.
you anytime soon, and have a very nice evening. Bye bye.
Thank you very much. Bye.